and welcome everyone. This is the Healing Hub, and I'm your host, DJ Snowstorm. Today's episode, we will be unlocking the mysteries of hypnotherapy. We have a very special guest joining us today, Linda Pallini. Linda is a local certified hypnotherapist based in La Quinta. She's also a Master of Therapeutic Imagery, a practitioner of Neuro-Linguistic programming, a Reiki master, and is certified in emotional freedom technique. Wow, what a diverse expertise there. She has helped countless clients address a wide range of challenges, from stress and anxiety to chronic pain and much more. You can learn more about her work at lindapallini.com. That's LINDAPALLINI.com. Linda, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, the honor is mine. All right, so today we're going to be talking about hypnotherapy. Can you start out by telling us a bit about yourself and how you became a hypnotherapist?
Well, I always had a desire to do social work or help people, but my life took me in a different direction. I had retail businesses, but I happened to meet someone who had attended hypnotherapy school. I was fascinated by all the things that she told me about it, and it sparked my interest. So I spent some time researching the education and how I could do it. I think what really won me over is I've had most of my life a massive sugar addiction, and hypnotherapy was the first thing that actually changed my relationship with how I eat, and mostly around sugar. So that sold me, and then I just set on a course to want to help other people with all the things that hypnotherapy can help them with.
What inspired you? What inspired you to pursue hypnotherapy as a career?
Well, I think what I loved about it is that I was working with people that wanted to change and were stuck, and hypnotherapy gave them, in a lot of cases, a really quick change. Because what you're doing is you're getting into the root of the problem and changing their associations. And so, I could just see, even after one session, a lot of times people had a major shift, as opposed to other types of therapy. Sometimes you go and go and go and go. And I even experienced that myself. And of course, cognitive therapy is amazing. And I did, for my lifetime, definitely receive amazing help with that. But there's something really profound and special about hypnotherapy. Actually, I've teamed up with some cognitive therapists. They would almost like write me a prescription. So they would do the cognitive therapy, and then I would come in after that and work with the client. And it was amazing results.
And what is cognitive therapy?
Like regular talk therapy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Regular talk therapy. Wow. Yeah. So it sounds powerful. And what kind of training did you undergo?
So once I decided to actually pursue this as a career, the best school, I would say, in the world is in Los Angeles. And I'm fortunate enough that I was able to drive there. So I received over 700 hours of training in all the aspects of hypnotherapy. And then I was so immersed and so in love with the program, I took every extra class and training that I could. And there's also a 6-month supervised clinical, so that you really learn how to do it. You've got your supervisors there, and you get to see a lot of clients. So by the time you're finished with the program, you really are ready to go and start helping people with a lot of confidence.
Awesome. For those who might be unfamiliar, can you explain what hypnotherapy is in kind of simple terms?
Sure. So what it is, in its most elementary form, is a really focused and relaxed state of awareness. It's a state where your mind becomes more open to positive suggestions, like especially the ones that you really want to believe. What's really cool about it is, I guess an easier way to say it, it's like updating the software of your mind. You're still very aware and in control, but you're working on a deeper level. The part of you that controls your habits, your reactions, and all of your emotional patterns, because that is where really change can happen.
Wow. So you had said cognitive therapy. How do you think hypnotherapy differs from traditional talk therapy or counseling?
I would say one of the main ways that it differs is that when you're experiencing hypnotherapy, you're going into a deep state of visualization of what you want to happen, where cognitive therapy is wonderful at figuring out maybe what you want your direction to be. When you're in hypnosis, it's like it's really happening. You're living it, you're experiencing it, and involving all of your senses. So then when you go out into the real world, it's a much easier transition because you have that familiarity and that confidence from actually visualizing it and feeling it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So what does a typical hypnotherapy session look like from start to finish?
So the first thing we do is we start with a conversation. We figure out, I listen really intently to understand someone's goals, their challenges, and their history. And then the next thing I do is test their suggestibility, because people receive suggestions in different ways. Get to know more about how they would best receive the suggestions. And then I guide them into a very relaxed state. We use breath work, I use deepeners and other techniques so that once they're in a calm and receptive space, then I can use customized suggestions that are really going to be meaningful to them, as opposed to just listening to something on YouTube. What I'm able to do with the person that I'm with is actually structure something that is profound and meaningful and motivates them to really want to change.
And that motivation is profound, being able to customize that for the individual person. So what techniques do you use to help clients enter a hypnotic states, and how do you know when they're ready for that?
I can just tell. What's really interesting is sometimes when someone comes for their second session, I'm barely talking to them and their eyes are starting to get heavy because they get conditioned. There's a variety of techniques that you can use that I learned at HMI that work. So you just kind of have to be together and see. But yeah, I can use different deepeners, guided relaxation. And it's actually, I can tell someone is in hypnosis by their effect and by the way that they're relaxed.
Yeah, and I've actually done hypnotherapy with you, and I can vouch for that. Having done it with, multiple sessions, as soon as you go back, you kind of go in there and you know what's going to happen, and you just relax right into it. Yeah. It's a beautiful experience.
It is, and it's so much about the connection. When I'm with somebody and I'm really listening, it just kind of takes on a life of its own. We connect, we talk, and then as I guide them into really making their dreams come true, it's like such a beautiful experience for both of us.
Yeah, and time flies.
It
all
does.
of a sudden, it's 1 hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you're like, wow, this is just the energy of the session kind of takes over. Healing is very powerful, and especially healing from you is very powerful. So what different types of hypnotherapy approaches do you specialize in? Is there any particular method you yourself specialize in?
Well, I do add NLP, Neuro-Linguistic programming, and I also use EFT, which is kind of like a form of acupuncture, but it's used through tapping, and I use a lot of imagery. I add those modalities and those techniques to just the standard hypnotherapy. So, and the other thing is when I'm working with somebody, I can tell what I should add as we're going along. It's nice to have an array of tools that I can use to get someone where they want to go.
Is that part of certifications you were talking about, the extra classes that you did at HMI?
Yes.
Was in those specialties, the EFT and the techniques? And EFT, you said, is kind of like acupuncture?
Right. So instead of using needles, it's a sequence of tapping. And you tap on pressure points. And it's actually was approved for the Veterans Administration for PTSD. So EFT is really great at using for trauma. One gentleman had the golf yips. And I do have another certification in athletic performance. And I think the tapping along with the hypnotherapy was a 1-2 punch. Like he went out on the course his next time and his yips were totally gone.
Oh my God,
so
that's amazing. I love how you said it's like a 1-2 punch.
I know, you would like that, wouldn't you?
I used to box a little.
A lot.
Yeah. So applications and benefits, what are some of the most common issues people come to you for help?
I would say anxiety is a big one. A lot of people have anxiety, but there's all kinds of things that I've helped people with confidence, as I said before, with eating, sugar, help people with relationship issues, setting boundaries, sports performance, ADHD is another big one, or ADD. There's hundreds of ways that hypnotherapy can help. Basically, it's really great at habit change. Or we could even take smoking. Somebody might be smoking and they want to quit. Maybe they know they should, but they just can't. That's my wheelhouse. If somebody really has their heart's desire is to quit or change something, or they want to start exercising, or they want to show up differently, like they want to be able to be more confident, or they want to do public speaking, or they just want to be able to be more effective in a relationship. They want it, but they just don't quite have the courage or the understanding. It's really a beautiful thing to watch someone evolve and change like that, then you can set your goals and you can stay true to your goals because you can actually follow through with them.
So it kind of goes into the subconscious as you're doing that hypnotherapy and helps to change those habits.
It does, because our associations and our habits are formed by the time we're like 8 or 9 years old. We have all of these programs running and we act certain ways to try to feel safe. So then you try to make a change, but there might be something inside of you that's like, no, because really change is hard for human beings. So we have to go in, relearn things or reteach the subconscious a new way, a better way, so that becomes your new program that you're running on. And then when you do that, it becomes easy and natural.
Yeah, and I kind of like the example of, you get in your car and you're driving somewhere. You don't even think about, I need to press the brake or I need to turn right now. You're thinking about other things and you're going, and that's your subconscious kind of driving you. Is that correct?
It is, and that's why it's funny when people say, oh, you can't hypnotize me. I'm like, really? You hypnotize yourself all day long?
All day long.
When you get up in the morning, when you go to sleep, if you're watching a movie and you get lost in the story, when, like the example that you just gave, when you drive to work and you don't even really know how you did it. We do so many automatic things. Our body does so many automatic things. Like, here's another thing. People say, oh, I don't want to lose control. Actually, hypnosis gives you control because instead of everything just running on autopilot, you're stepping in and you're starting to be the driver of your life instead. So
yeah,
it's amazing.
Exactly. Kind of release in that moment and you allow your subconscious to be healed in the way that it might need to be healed. In turn, you create greater control in your life from that. So
absolutely.
That's amazing. Well, you're listening to the Healing Hub on COD Roadrunner Radio. After this short break, we'll be talking about benefits, misconceptions, and the future of hypnotherapy. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to COD Roadrunner Radio. This is the Healing Hub, and I am DJ Snowstorm. In today's episode, we are unlocking the mysteries of hypnotherapy with our very special guest and local hypnotherapist, Linda Pallini. And has it helped with physical pain? Because we've talked a lot about anxiety or depression, things like that. What about the physical pain? Somebody has chronic migraines or has a really bad back.
Yeah, I do have certifications in pain management and before and after surgery. I work with a number of clients to manage their pain, especially with so many of us trying not to use prescriptions, and sometimes you can't get around it. There's a use for that too. But it's really wonderful when you use hypnotherapy to manage your pain and have a more natural remedy for that. It's very effective.
And I know you have successful stories. Can you tell me one of that physical pain?
Absolutely. I had one client, one comes to mind, and she had horrible pain in her hands and her legs, and she couldn't sleep at night, and she had gone to every kind of remedy, pain management, and no one could even really diagnose what she had. I made a guided meditation for her, and she listened to it every night before she went to bed, and she finally started sleeping. It was a miracle. She came in tears. She was so happy that I was able to help her like that. And the other thing is when you're in massive pain or you have chronic pain, you're tense and it's hard for your body to actually heal. So if you can use this natural remedy, hypnosis, to get your body to relax, then healing is going to happen a lot better, faster, easier.
I agree with that. And how long would it take for typically someone to start to see the results, like as you're saying?
Well, it could happen in just one. Most people feel a shift in one session. Here's the way I would explain it. If somebody has a really deep-rooted cause for what the pain is, what the problem is, that's of more of an emotional nature, or there's some trauma, then we need to go deeper. We can do inner child work. We can do trauma clearing. There's different ways that we can clear that. So it really depends on the client and what the reasons are for the pain and how deep it goes. But as I get to know someone, usually it becomes very clear what the root problem is, and then we can start working away at that.
Going on to talking about some of the misconceptions and challenges that you may I know there's a lot of myths about hypnotherapy. We all saw, the talk shows of people losing control and clucking like a chicken. And some people who are not familiar with hypnotherapy might immediately start thinking of that. I know even at the fair, they had a hypnotherapist up there on the stage at one point, but you do totally different kind of hypnotherapy. Tell me misconceptions about that.
So clinical hypnotherapy like as I said, it requires a lot of training, and it's completely different than stage hypnosis. And I think circling back to when you asked me how I got into this, when I first met the person that was a hypnotherapist, I had a million questions for her because I had the same preconception that most people do, that it's you lose control or you're going to do weird things or embarrassing things. But the truth of it is, like, if you go to one of those shows, you're at a show, right, that's going to do some fun stuff. And the hypnotherapist, I would call him a hypnotist, not a hypnotherapist, he's watching everybody and he asks for volunteers. So whoever goes up there knows they're going to do whatever he asks. So really, you are in control because you wouldn't be on the stage. Like if I would never volunteer for it, and I wouldn't go up there because I don't want to do those things. So the misconception is you're totally in control. And I let people know when they come into my office and we do a session, you can open your eyes. If I give you a suggestion that doesn't resonate with you, you'll simply dismiss it. If you wanted to get up and walk away, you could. I'm not in control. Basically, I'm giving them control, and they can be in a relaxed state so that all of those suggestions really can take hold and take root. So it's just a completely different thing.
So what would you say to the skeptics?
About hypnosis?
About hypnosis that might not think it's legitimate or up there with cognitive therapy, or what would you say to them?
Well, I would say it's been widely accepted now by the American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the National Institute of Health. As I said before, the Veterans Association uses it. My mom lives in Oregon, and she just went through treatment, and she's part of a large medical institution. And they automatically, for her treatment, gave her hypnosis.
Oh, wow. So the science is backing it.
The science is totally backing it. There's lots of studies, lots of research. It's become a lot more mainstream. And as I said, like the therapists that I've worked with, they understand the science too. So it's a very powerful modality and definitely becoming more widely accepted.
Yeah, I think the skeptics just have to try it.
Right. You just have to try it and see. It's like there's no side effect. When you see those commercials and they're like, take this medicine, but there's like all these scary side effects. I got to tell you, there's no side effects.
Relaxation, maybe, well, that's the side effect, relaxation.
You get super relaxed.
So is everyone hypnotizable, or there's certain people that might not respond to hypnotherapy?
So like when we were talking before that everybody hypnotizes himself all day long. So really, everyone's hypnotizable. I would say in terms of working together with someone to get the best results, we see if we click, right? And normally I do, but someone comes in and we talk and I explain the whole process, explain about their suggestibility, I listen to their story, and then we formulate a path together. Now, different people are suggestible in a different way. As I get to know the person and I do some actual practical testing to figure out how they receive the suggestion. So let's say someone's very literal, and if I'm giving them inferred suggestions, they're going to be relaxed, but it's not going to work as well as if I give them the type of suggestions that are really a fit for them. And nobody's completely literal or no one's completely inferred. It's somewhere on the scale. I take all of that into consideration. So I'm trained to give you the kinds of suggestions that you're going to want to receive. And so yes, basically everyone is hypnotizable if they're open and relaxed and they want to do it.
And like you said, there's no risks or side effects.
That's correct. I think maybe a fear that someone might have is that you're going to make me do or think or be a way that I don't want to be. And then I'm not going to be able to undo it because you hypnotized me. That might be a thought someone has. But the thing is, I'm only giving you the suggestions you want. When we talk about and we make our plan together for what I'm going to do, everything I give you is for you and it's what you want. And if I by chance give you a suggestion and maybe you just don't like the tone of my voice for that split second, you just reject it. So it's you're fully and totally in control.
Exactly. Linda, how do you see hypnotherapy evolving in the future, especially with advancements in neuroscience and technology?
Wow, that is such a great question. And especially with all the talk about AI, I'm really excited about where hypnotherapy is heading, especially with the breakthroughs with neuroscience and the mind-body research that's going on. We're learning more than ever about neuroplasticity and the brain's ability to change and rewire itself. And that's exactly what hypnotherapy supports. So I see a future where hypnosis is no longer seen as an alternative, but it's going to be more mainstream. As I said before, there's a lot of science-backed evidence for emotional healing, habit change, and even simple and physical well-being. So as technology advances, I think we'll see more integration with things like real-time brainwave tracking, personalized neurofeedback, and even virtual reality, which would be so cool for immersive therapeutic experiences. Imagine a guided hypnotherapy session where you can actually use some visualization or have the visualization right in front of you. And I really do think that that's where we're headed. But we're always going to have the human-to-human connection,
Always.
heart, soul to soul, heart to heart. And so technology can never take the place of that.
That's true. And that's a part of hypnotherapy, though. It is human to human. So you might have the science and the technology evolving hypnotherapy, but it's always human to human connection that guides that person, right?
For
so that
sure.
kind of can't take that away from it.
Absolutely.
You mentioned AI. How does AI come into it?
I mentioned that just because people are starting to use AI as mainstream. So I don't use AI in my hypnotherapy because it needs to be customized to the person. So I don't use it for that. But a lot of the neuroscience and the virtual reality, I see that as something that I could use with hypnotherapy. We did take a class in biofeedback, and that's another really interesting thing that I could add to hypnotherapy. There's lots of science, lots of cool things that we're going to be able to do.
Have you ever done it on yourself?
Biofeedback?
Hypnotherapy in general.
Oh, yeah. Self-hypnosis. Yes. In fact, I gave a class on self-hypnosis. If somebody wants to have those tools, I give them, all the information and I teach them how to use self-hypnosis on themselves. The nice thing is if you're going to a hypnotherapist, you can just relax and let them guide you through the process and you don't have to do anything yourself. But as another thing you could add to that is using self-hypnosis. And I have used it for myself. As I said, my sugar addiction, all transparent here. But most people that know me know my journey. So I've used that a lot. And sometimes I'll just use it if I want to have more confidence to do something. It's a great tool for people to have to be able to accomplish the things that they want to accomplish. Really, it's a lot about visualizing your outcome, visualizing what you want to do and getting really comfortable with that. So yeah.
You had mentioned biofeedback. What is that?
It's the coolest thing ever. Basically, you know how a lie detector test can tell when you have certain responses heightened? Well, biofeedback, you can actually attach it to your head, you can attach it to your heart space, you can attach it to your hands, and then the computer can say when you have heightened responses. So in the class that I took, I actually saw someone hooked up to the biofeedback and they were running the game with their mind. They were actually moving different things with their mind. So it's not something that I've added to my practice yet, but I'm looking into it because I do have the certification and I think it would be a really amazing tool to add.
And you have a lot of tools already. So, so that actually sounds really interesting. We could do a whole podcast on that.
I know, we should, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Will you be my guinea pig?
Yes, totally.
Okay,
I would love
it.
to. And then we'll come back on and talk about it. How about that?
Yes.
That sounds fun.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, Linda, is there any advice you'd give somebody who's curious about trying hypnotherapy but kind of feels hesitant or nervous?
Well, first of all, it's completely normal to feel hesitant, especially if your only exposure to hypnosis has been stage shows or movies. But the truth is, hypnotherapy is actually a very natural, safe, and relaxing process. Remembering you're always in control. So I guess my advice would be go in with curiosity, not pressure. You don't have to do anything right. Just allow yourself to explore. And then just make sure you're working with someone that creates a safe, supportive space. You feel seen, you feel understood, you can trust them and be open with them.
That's a perfect place to end on. So I think everyone should possibly try it. Linda, where can our listeners learn more about your work or get in touch with you if they're interested in a session?
So the best place to find me is on my website. There's a contact form there, and my website is lindapallini.com, LINDAPALLINI. And I do free consultations, and I just love talking about this subject, as you can tell, and I love helping people. So that's the best way to reach me.
It is a beautiful website, too. I read some of your blogs and just the website itself. It's one of the most beautiful websites I've seen, so definitely go check it out. And again, that's LINDAPALLINI.com. Linda, thank you so much for being here.
Sarah, thank you so much for having me. It has been so much fun and really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a great experience, and you'll have to come back on for sure.
All kinds of fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the Healing Hub on COD Roadrunner Radio. I am DJ Snowstorm, and this has been Unlocking the Mysteries of Hypnotherapy. Until next time, thanks, guys.